In a shocking turn of events on ABC's General Hospital, the battle between Michael Corinthos and Drew Cain has reached a fever pitch, with Willow Tate caught in the middle of their deadly game. What began as a custody dispute has evolved into something far more sinister, a chess match where marriage proposals, bribery, and courtroom betrayals threaten to destroy lives and reshape Port Charles forever. Michael's calculated proposal. Michael Corinthos has always been strategic, but his latest move crosses into morally ambiguous territory. Sources reveal that Michael is planning to propose to Jacinda Bracken, the escort who has already served as his alibi in the Drew Cain shooting investigation. However, this isn't a love story, it's a business arrangement designed to benefit both parties while strengthening Michael's position against Willow and Drew. Jacinda, who first appeared in Port Charles earlier this year when Nina Reeves and Portia Robinson hired her to set up Drew at the Savoy, has proven herself to be savvy, confident, and motivated primarily by financial gain. After successfully drugging Drew and leaving him humiliated in a viral video, she cashed her check and disappeared to Australia. But months later, she's back, and Michael sees an opportunity to solidify his alibi while creating an unbreakable legal shield. The plan is straightforward yet devious. By marrying Jacinda, Michael ensures that she cannot be compelled to testify against him in any legal proceedings. It's a tactical marriage, one that serves Michael's interests as he navigates the treacherous waters of the Drew Cain shooting investigation and his ongoing war with Willow. For Jacinda, the arrangement offers financial security and stability, something the money-driven escort cannot resist. Drew discovers the truth. Drew Cain, despite his own complicated history and questionable decisions, has maintained his belief in Willow's innocence throughout this ordeal. He knows that Jacinda is not the virtuous woman she might appear to be in Michael's staged narrative. More importantly, Drew understands that Jacinda's loyalty extends only as far as her bank account. This realization becomes Drew's weapon. If Jacinda can be bought once, she can be bought again, this time to tell the truth. Drew formulates a plan to approach Jacinda with an offer she cannot refuse, more money than Michael could ever provide, in exchange for her testimony against Michael in court. The goal is simple yet profound: save Willow from a fate she doesn't deserve and expose Michael's manipulations once and for all. Drew's desperation to protect Willow drives his actions. He's watched her struggle against Michael's relentless campaign to frame her for Drew's shooting, witnessed her lose custody of her children, and seen her arrested in front of Wiley and Amelia. For Drew, buying Jacinda's truthful testimony represents more than just a legal strategy, it's a moral imperative to correct the injustice that has befallen the woman he loves. The courtroom bombshell. The trial proceeds with all the tension and drama that Port Charles has come to expect. Michael sits confidently beside his attorney, secure in the knowledge that his carefully constructed web of lies and alibis will hold. Willow, exhausted and emotionally drained from months of legal battles and separation from her children, clings to hope that the truth will somehow prevail. Jacinda is present, ostensibly to support Michael's version of events. But as the proceedings unfold, something shifts. Drew's offer has worked its magic. The greedy escort, true to her nature, has calculated that Drew's money, combined with the opportunity to escape Michael's increasingly dark and dangerous orbit, represents a better deal than whatever Michael has promised her. In a moment that will reverberate through Port Charles for years to come, Jacinda stands up. The courtroom falls silent as she raises her hand, asking permission to address the court. The judge, sensing something significant, allows her to speak. And then, in clear and unequivocal terms, Jacinda begins to dismantle Michael's entire defense. She testifies that Michael approached her with a specific plan, to serve as his alibi for the night Drew was shot. She reveals the financial arrangements, the coaching on what to say, and most damningly, the proposal of marriage designed to prevent her from ever being forced to testify against him. Her words paint a picture of calculated deception, transforming Michael from victim to perpetrator in the minds of everyone present. Michael's arrest and Willow's freedom. The impact of Jacinda's testimony is immediate and devastating for Michael. The judge, faced with credible evidence of witness tampering, obstruction of justice, and potentially conspiracy to commit perjury, has no choice but to act. Security officers are summoned to the courtroom. Michael, who moments ago sat confidently beside his attorney, now finds himself being read his Miranda rights as handcuffs are placed around his wrists. The arrest happens swiftly, professionally, and with the kind of efficiency that leaves no room for protest or delay. Michael is led away from the courtroom, his face a mask of shock and fury. The carefully constructed empire of lies he built to destroy Willow has collapsed in spectacular fashion, brought down by the very woman he thought he could control through money and marriage. For Willow, the moment brings a rush of emotions, relief, vindication, exhaustion, and a profound sense of liberation. The charges against her are immediately dropped. The judge orders her release, acknowledging that she has been the victim of a malicious frame job. After months of being separated from Wiley and Amelia, after enduring arrest, imprisonment, and public humiliation, Willow is finally free. The courtroom erupts in a mixture of gasps, applause, and stunned silence. Drew moves to Willow's side, offering support as she processes what has just happened. The nightmare is over, but the scars remain, emotional wounds that will take time to heal. Michael's vow of revenge. As Michael is escorted from the courthouse, his mind is already racing toward the future. The humiliation of being arrested in court, the betrayal by Jacinda, and the loss of his carefully orchestrated plan fuel a burning rage that threatens to consume everything in its path. Michael Corinthos has never been one to accept defeat gracefully, and this public humiliation represents the ultimate insult. In the holding cell, awaiting arraignment on charges that could result in significant prison time, Michael makes a silent vow: Jacinda will pay for her betrayal. The specifics of his revenge remain unformed, but the intent is crystal clear. She took his money, played her part, and then sold him out for a better offer from Drew. Such treachery cannot go unpunished. Michael's transformation into a darker, more ruthless version of himself continues to accelerate. The man who once represented the moral center of the Corinthos family has been corrupted by his obsession with punishing Willow and maintaining control over his children. Now, with his freedom potentially at stake, Michael's capacity for vengeance knows no bounds. The custody battle continues. While the criminal charges against Willow have been dropped, the custody battle for Wiley and Amelia is far from resolved. Michael's arrest certainly damages his credibility in family court, but it doesn't automatically restore Willow's parental rights. The legal system moves slowly, and the evidence of Michael's manipulation will need to be presented in the context of custody proceedings. However, the momentum has shifted dramatically in Willow's favor. With Michael facing criminal charges for framing her in a shooting investigation, family court judges will be hard-pressed to justify his continued sole custody of the children. The pattern of deception, manipulation, and willingness to destroy Willow's life to maintain control paints a disturbing picture of Michael's fitness as a parent. Willow's attorney will undoubtedly file emergency motions to modify the custody arrangement. The argument is compelling. Michael has demonstrated that he will stop at nothing, including framing the mother of his children for attempted murder, to maintain control. Such behavior represents a clear danger not just to Willow, but potentially to the emotional well-being of Wiley and Amelia themselves. Most legal experts following the case predict that Willow will likely be granted at minimum shared custody, with a strong possibility of primary physical custody being transferred to her. Michael's arrest and the revelation of his scheme have fundamentally altered the calculus that previously favored him in custody proceedings. Drew's moral complexity. Drew's decision to bribe Jacinda, while ultimately saving Willow, raises complex ethical questions. He has essentially committed witness tampering, paying someone to testify in court, albeit to tell the truth rather than to lie. The legal system typically frowns upon such actions regardless of the underlying truthfulness of the testimony being purchased. However, in the context of Port Charles, where justice often operates according to its own unique rules, Drew's actions may be viewed more charitably. He identified a fundamental injustice, recognized that the system had been manipulated by Michael's wealth and connections, and took decisive action to correct the imbalance. From this perspective, Drew's bribery of Jacinda represents a form of vigilante justice designed to counteract Michael's own corrupt manipulation of the legal system. The question of whether Drew will face legal consequences for his actions remains open. If prosecutors decide to investigate how Jacinda's sudden change of heart came about, they may uncover Drew's financial inducements. However, given that Michael was framing Willow for a crime she didn't commit, and that Drew's actions ultimately led to truth being revealed rather than concealed, it's possible that prosecutors will decline to pursue charges. The aftermath and implications. The courtroom drama has sent shockwaves through Port Charles, affecting not just the primary players but the entire community. The Quartermaine family finds itself divided, some members defending Michael as a son who went too far in protecting his children, while others condemn his actions as unforgivable betrayals of basic decency. Carly Corinthos faces the painful reality that her son has become the kind of man who would destroy an innocent woman's life to serve his own purposes. The parallels to Sonny Corinthos's ruthless approach to problem-solving are unmistakable, and Carly must confront the possibility that Michael has inherited the darkest aspects of his biological father's personality. Jacinda, having escaped both Michael's control and Port Charles with Drew's substantial payment, has likely disappeared once again. Her role in this drama is complete. She served as the catalyst for both Michael's scheme and its ultimate unraveling. Whether she will face consequences for her initial agreement to provide Michael with a false alibi remains to be seen, but given her apparent departure from Port Charles, prosecution seems unlikely. For Willow and Drew, the victory is bittersweet. Yes, Willow has been exonerated and will likely regain custody of her children. But the emotional toll of the ordeal, the separation from Wiley and Amelia, the public accusation of attempted murder, the imprisonment and humiliation, cannot be easily erased. The trauma will linger, affecting Willow's ability to trust, to feel safe, and to move forward with her life. Moreover, Michael's vow of revenge hangs over everything like a dark cloud. Even from behind bars, Michael Corinthos possesses resources, connections, and determination. His promise to make Jacinda pay suggests that this story is far from over. And if Michael is willing to target Jacinda for her betrayal, what might he be planning for Drew, the man he views as the architect of his downfall? The explosive courtroom showdown between Michael and Willow, with Drew and Jacinda playing pivotal roles, represents a turning point in General Hospital's ongoing narrative. What began as a custody dispute evolved into a criminal conspiracy, and ultimately resolved in a moment of courtroom drama that will be remembered for years to come. Michael's arrest, Willow's freedom, and the promise of renewed custody battles create a foundation for months of continuing storylines. And Michael's vow of revenge ensures that the consequences of this day will reverberate through Port Charles long into the future. In the world of daytime drama, where love, loyalty, and betrayal intertwine in complex patterns, this chapter stands out as a reminder that sometimes the pursuit of control leads not to victory, but to spectacular and very public defeat. Next, we will learn about the explosive developments coming to Port Charles during the week of October 27, 2025, where shocking revelations, devastating confrontations, and heart-wrenching decisions will leave fans on the edge of their seats. This week promises to deliver some of the most intense drama we've seen in recent months, with multiple storylines colliding in ways that will forever change the landscape of Port Charles. The residents of this turbulent town are about to face consequences they never anticipated, and the ripple effects will be felt across every family in the community. From Nina Reeves' desperate attempts to fix the unfixable, to Jordan Ashford finding herself in the hot seat, to romantic entanglements that threaten to tear families apart, this week has it all. So buckle up as we dive deep into what ABC General Hospital has in store for viewers this week. Nina Reeves spirals into desperation. The week kicks off with Nina Reeves finding herself in an impossible situation that seems to worsen with every decision she makes. Nina's world has completely crumbled around her, and the devastated mother is scrambling to find any way to salvage her relationship with her daughter Willow Tate. The unfortunate reality is that Nina's previous attempts to protect Willow have spectacularly backfired in the worst possible way. Her good intentions have paved a road straight to disaster, and now Willow sits behind bars in Pentonville, paying the price for circumstances that spiraled out of control. Nina is consumed with guilt and desperation, lying awake at night trying to figure out how to undo the damage she's inadvertently caused. The weight of responsibility crushes down on her shoulders, and she knows that time is running out to make things right. Alexis Davis, the brilliant attorney who rarely turns down a challenge, has stepped up to take on Willow's case. However, even Alexis with all her legal expertise and courtroom prowess is skeptical about their chances. She's made it painfully clear that trying to shift blame onto Michael Corinthos is a strategy with extremely long odds. The evidence just isn't there to support such a defense, and Alexis knows that pursuing this angle could potentially backfire and make matters even worse for Willow. Despite Alexis's warnings and cautious approach, Nina refuses to accept defeat. In true Nina fashion, she's about to make another questionable move that could have serious ramifications. This week, viewers will watch as Nina executes yet another dirty maneuver, though the exact nature of this scheme remains shrouded in mystery. The big question on everyone's mind is whether Nina will cause even more harm to Willow, or if this time she's actually calculated a plan that might work in her daughter's favor. Given Nina's track record of acting impulsively and dealing with consequences later, there's genuine concern about what she's plotting. One intriguing possibility is that Nina might orchestrate a scheme to ensure that someone else takes the fall for the shooting of Drew Cain. If Nina can redirect suspicion and evidence toward another suspect, it might create enough reasonable doubt to help Willow's case. However, framing an innocent person or manipulating evidence would be a dangerous game that could blow up in Nina's face spectacularly. The question remains whether Nina has learned anything from her past mistakes, or if she's about to dig herself into an even deeper hole that she won't be able to climb out of. Trina Robinson discovers an uncomfortable truth. Meanwhile, Trina Robinson is about to have an awkward and eye-opening conversation with her mother that changes her perspective on everything. The young woman, who has been through so much already, will find herself in an uncomfortable position when she attempts to have a heart-to-heart with Portia Robinson. In a preview clip that has fans buzzing with speculation, Monday's episode shows Trina walking into her mother's office at the hospital, expecting to find Portia alone and available for a much-needed mother-daughter chat. However, what Trina discovers instead stops her in her tracks and immediately sets off alarm bells in her intuitive mind. As Trina enters the office, she realizes she's interrupting something, and that something involves her mother and Dr. Isaiah Gannon. While Portia and Isaiah are fully clothed and aren't caught in any compromising physical position, Trina's sharp instincts immediately pick up on the charged atmosphere in the room. The body language between Portia and Isaiah speaks volumes, and Trina can sense that whatever conversation or interaction was happening before she walked in went far beyond professional medical discussion. There's an intimacy in the air, an unspoken connection that Trina recognizes instantly, and it makes her deeply uncomfortable. This discovery puts Trina in an incredibly difficult position because she knows her mother's marriage to Curtis Ashford and the complications that any romantic entanglement with Isaiah could create. Trina will have to decide whether to confront her mother directly about what she sensed, whether to keep her suspicions to herself, or whether to somehow address the elephant in the room during their conversation. The heart-to-heart that Trina was hoping to have about her own life and concerns may end up being completely derailed by this unexpected revelation. Portia will likely try to downplay the situation or explain away the tension Trina detected, but the damage is done and Trina's perception of her mother's marriage has been irrevocably altered. This storyline promises to add another layer of complexity to the already complicated Ashford-Robinson family dynamics. Jordan Ashford faces intense scrutiny. The drama continues to escalate as Jordan Ashford finds herself on the receiving end of some very pointed questions from Justine Turner. Jordan, who has always prided herself on operating within the law and maintaining her integrity, is about to discover that her current employment situation has put her under a microscope she didn't anticipate. While it's absolutely true that Jordan hasn't committed any crimes or violated any laws, her professional association with Jen Sidwell is raising eyebrows among those who are keeping close tabs on the criminal underworld in Port Charles. Justine will grill Jordan about her work for Sidwell, probing for information about what Jordan knows, what she's witnessed, and whether she's been complicit in any of Sidwell's questionable activities. For Jordan, this interrogation represents a nightmare scenario where her professional reputation and personal ethics are being called into question. She took the job with Sidwell for legitimate reasons, needing employment and believing she could handle the complicated moral terrain. However, now she's discovering that working for someone with Sidwell's connections and reputation has consequences that extend beyond just her paycheck. Jordan will need to carefully navigate Justine's questions, defending her choices while also not revealing anything that could make her situation worse. The investigation into Jordan's activities could have far-reaching implications for several ongoing storylines in Port Charles. If Jordan is forced to reveal information about Sidwell's operations, it could put her in danger from Sidwell himself. On the other hand, if she stonewalls the investigation or is perceived as protecting Sidwell, she could face legal consequences of her own. Jordan finds herself between a rock and a hard place, and viewers will watch anxiously to see how she handles the pressure and whether she can emerge from this interrogation with her reputation and freedom intact. Nathan West makes a significant promise. In another intriguing development, Nathan West will make some kind of promise this week that has fans speculating wildly about what he might be committing to. The context and recipient of this promise remain unclear, but the most likely scenarios involve either Maxie Jones or his son James West. Nathan has been working hard to rebuild relationships and prove that he's changed, so any promise he makes carries significant weight. If the promise is to Maxie, it could involve their future together, his commitment to being present and reliable, or perhaps something related to protecting their family from the dangers that seem to constantly swirl around Port Charles. If the promise is directed at James, it might be about being the father James deserves, about making up for lost time, or about ensuring James's safety and happiness moving forward. Whatever promise Nathan makes, it will be a pivotal moment in his redemption arc and could set the stage for either triumph or tragedy depending on whether he's able to keep his word. Promises in soap operas are often tested immediately and severely, so viewers should expect that Nathan will face challenges that push his commitment to its limits. The stakes are high because Nathan has already disappointed people in his past, and another broken promise could permanently damage relationships that he's worked so hard to repair. Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri's ongoing conflict. The tumultuous relationship between Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri will hit another rough patch this week as more conflict erupts between the former couple. Despite their shared history and the love they once had for each other, Lulu and Dante continue to struggle with communication and alignment on important issues. The specific nature of this week's conflict hasn't been revealed, but given their recent interactions, it likely involves disagreements about parenting decisions, boundaries with each other's new relationships, or perhaps lingering unresolved feelings that keep surfacing at inopportune moments. Both Lulu and Dante are trying to move forward with their lives while co-parenting and maintaining some kind of relationship, but the path forward is anything but smooth. Every conversation seems to contain landmines, and every interaction risks reopening old wounds. This week's conflict will test whether they can find a way to communicate effectively and put their children's needs first, or whether their personal issues will continue to create chaos and confusion for everyone involved. Giovanni Palmieri opens his heart. In a more tender storyline, Giovanni "Gio" Palmieri will open up to Emma Scorpio Drake in what promises to be a vulnerable and revealing conversation. Gio has been carrying emotional burdens and secrets, and finally finding someone he trusts enough to confide in represents a significant breakthrough for the young man. Emma, with her compassionate nature and own experiences with complicated family dynamics, is the perfect person for Gio to turn to during this difficult time. Their conversation will likely deepen their connection and potentially set the stage for a romantic relationship to develop, or at the very least, a strong friendship built on mutual understanding and trust. The Quartermaine family drama intensifies. The Quartermaine family will be dealing with their own set of complications this week. Port Charles will take time to remember Alan Quartermaine, a tribute that will bring both nostalgia and pain for the family members who loved him. This memorial moment will remind longtime viewers of the Quartermaine legacy and the complicated family dynamics that have always defined this powerful Port Charles clan. Additionally, Ned Quartermaine will take on the challenging task of trying to screw Tracy Quartermaine's head on straight, as the spoilers colorfully describe it. Tracy has been behaving erratically or making questionable decisions, and Ned feels compelled to intervene before she does something she'll regret. However, anyone who knows Tracy understands that getting her to see reason or change course is significantly easier said than done. Tracy is stubborn, proud, and convinced of her own wisdom, making her nearly impossible to redirect once she's set her mind on something. Ned's attempts at intervention may fall on deaf ears, or worse, might push Tracy to double down on whatever course of action has Ned concerned in the first place. Shocking announcements and confrontations. The drama reaches fever pitch when Veronica "Ronnie" Bard makes a jaw-dropping announcement that will leave Port Charles reeling. The exact nature of this announcement remains under wraps, but given the description as jaw-dropping, it's safe to assume that whatever Ronnie reveals will have major implications for multiple characters and storylines. This could involve revelations about Drew, about her own intentions, or perhaps shocking information about other Port Charles residents that she's been keeping to herself. Whatever Ronnie announces will serve as a catalyst for even more drama and conflict in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, tensions will explode when Britt Westbourne and Elizabeth "Liz" Baldwin face off in what promises to be a heated confrontation. These two strong-willed women have plenty of reasons to be at odds, whether over professional issues, personal conflicts, or matters involving the men in their lives. When Britt and Liz clash, viewers can expect sharp words, accusations, and possibly revelations that change the dynamics of their relationship permanently. Legal troubles and disappointments. Cody Bell will seek legal counsel this week, sitting down with a lawyer to discuss matters that clearly require professional legal advice. Whether Cody is in trouble himself, trying to help someone else, or dealing with legal matters related to his personal situation remains to be seen, but the fact that he needs a lawyer suggests serious complications are brewing. Laura Collins, Port Charles's mayor and moral compass, will experience disappointment this week. Speculation points to this disappointment potentially being related to Drew's offer to Ronnie, which Laura may view as inappropriate, ill-timed, or potentially harmful to the community. Laura has always held high standards for leadership and behavior in Port Charles, so seeing Drew make questionable decisions would naturally trouble her deeply. Finally, Jason Morgan will demand answers from Carly Spencer in what is sure to be an intense confrontation. Jason rarely demands anything from Carly given their long history and deep connection, so the fact that he's pushed to this point indicates that something serious has happened. Carly may have kept information from Jason, made decisions that affect him without his knowledge, or become involved in situations that put her or others at risk. Jason's demand for answers will force Carly to be honest about whatever she's been hiding or doing, and their conversation could have major ramifications for their relationship and for ongoing storylines in Port Charles. This week on ABC General Hospital promises to deliver the kind of dramatic, emotionally charged storytelling that has made the show a daytime television staple for decades. Don't miss a single episode.
you.